Thank you, Zach. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're joined by Mike Carter, a proud North Philadelphia native and first-generation college graduate who has dedicated his career to youth development and sports leadership. Mike graduated from Temple University School of Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality Management in 2001. Same here.
Same
With a
here.
degree in no, same here. I said not with a degree in sports and recreation management and a minor in business administration from the Fox School of Business. During his time at Temple, he also served as the team manager for the Temple women's basketball from 98 to 2001. Professionally, Mike has built an impressive career with experience spanning organizations such as Philadelphia Parks and Recreation and One and the 76ers, as well as the National Basketball Association. Beyond his professional work, he spent decades mentoring and advising grassroots athletes before they reach professional level, while also designing youth sports development curriculum for more than 20 years. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mike Carter.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Great.
All right. So we got a lot of Temple Owls on here, I see. So this is like a family reunion.
I love it.
Yes. Great times at Temple. Some of the best times I've had was at Temple University, and just before I get into our presentation, just to hone in on that Temple experience because we have so many Temple folks. Dean Montague made, for those that know Jeffrey Montague, Jeff was a savior for me. God knew who I needed at that time in my life, and it was Jeff. And Jeff really helped steer me in the right direction, along with Dr. Michael Jackson. Rest in peace, Professor Dolores Andy.
Yeah, it's great.
Ira Shapiro. It was so many mentors I was able to have. John Chaney, rest in peace. Coach was one of them. That was one of, like, every day it was like I had to pinch myself because for 3 years I used to get to pretty much be in Coach Chaney's office and just have these rap sessions. And I used to be like, this is not even real, because I grew up on Temple University basketball. Yeah, now I'm involved in soccer, which I never could have imagined, because my whole life pretty much was centered around basketball. And it was basically because of my actually two children. Around 2016 is when my son really started evolving, and my daughter was playing too. My daughter's right now a 19-year-old freshman at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. She's a finance major, and she played, pretty much throughout. And then my son picked up after her, and that's kind of how we got started. In around 2017 is when I started, creating this village for children. So I'm actually, I guess I could share my screen and go to.
Yep, you can share your slides. Josh, give you permission.
Awesome. So basically, how Project Primacy Foundation came about. I never had any interest in building a soccer business, and I didn't have any interest in building a nonprofit. It started because in 2017, as both my son and daughter evolved in their soccer talents, it kept taking us further away from where we lived in West Philadelphia. And so oftentimes the drives would go from 15, 20 minutes to half hour, 40 minutes to then an hour to the point it got to 2 hours in commute time. Because every time I would find a program for my children, they would say, "Hey, Mike, you gotta put these kids in something more advanced." I'm like, well, I thought you guys knew soccer. I didn't know a thing. And I'm like, I'm expecting them to have the platform or the right opportunity for my kids. And every time I just kept getting redirected to, a more advanced level of soccer. And that took me 2 hours away from where we had resided. And it started to become frustrating because it's like, man, I got to drive 90 minutes to 2 hours, just for a practice. And we talking about doing this 3 times a week. We're talking about doing this after you got finished working, right? 8 hours. And then you got to drive home, get your kids, feed them, then get on the road and do this 3 times a week. And mind you, this is during rush hour. So practices were always starting at 6 o'clock. And so now do the math. I gotta get on the road 4 o'clock. Oftentimes my kids, they were catching the school bus at that time because they both were educated in the private school system. My daughter was at Baldwin and my son was at Haverford. And so I would have to wait for the school bus to come. And oftentimes the school bus would come anywhere between 3:30, 3:45. Sometimes it will even be later. And so now I got to have the car running, get them, and just drive straight to practice. And so now, as we're making these 90-minute to 2 hour commutes to these different programs, we were also ethnically, we were like pretty much the only Black kids or the only Black families at that time. And then there was like a disconnect. And not only just being, Black, because even sometimes there would be maybe one other, Black kid or Black family, but there was also a whole disconnect, when you talk about socioeconomic in regards to where we live, where they live. And socially, it wasn't beneficial for my kids anymore. And it was like, wow, this is what my children was going through. I could figure other kids probably was going through the same thing. And as I started really exploring what was going on within the grassroots platform for soccer, here in the U.S., it was the same exact thing, if not worse, for other families and other kids. And so I was like, you know what? There's no solution right now because it wasn't like there was like specific programs where they were really trying to focus on the inner city. And the times when it would be programs, oftentimes it would just be one and done. It's like, some organization, with a budget to come in and say, hey, we're going to, provide, a soccer program in your community. And pretty much they would give us free balls, free t-shirts, take a bunch of photos, and they was gone. They would never be, they'd never come back. And so that became very, very frustrating. And so summer of 2017, Bayern Munich had came to Philadelphia to play an exhibition. And that's where I really caught the soccer bug in regards to understanding how to develop soccer talent. And so this gentleman named Coach Lars from Germany, he ran these series of clinics throughout the city. And so the first one he did in West Philadelphia. And so my kids was there and we were learning from him. And he would say, hey, Dad, come here. Because I was pretty much the only parent, standing around actually watching the clinics. And he's like, Dad, come here. He's like, I want to show you some things. He's like, I want you to record me and I want you to keep this so that way when I leave, you still can, implement this with your children. And so I would do that. Then he would tell me, he said, hey, I'm going to run these other clinics in different parts of the city. If you can make it there, meet me there, and I'll make sure I keep showing you and your kids the stuff you guys need to learn. So I was like, awesome. Mind you, I didn't have to pay for it. We just had to show up. And we followed this man for like maybe 6-7 different clinics. And that's how I learned about the technical development of the game. I'm like, man, no one's teaching us this. And at the YMCA or at the Boys and Girls Club or at Parks and Rec. Like no one's teaching this kind of, knowledge. And so from there, I already had a background developing basketball players. So I did that for over 20 years. And I was very good at it. I used to get hired by a 5-star, the original 5-star. I would get hired by the original hoop group in the Eastern Invitational Basketball Classic. And so I would travel throughout New York, Jersey, the DMV, etc. I would be at the Adidas ABCD camp. Um, I was there when LeBron James first became the chosen one. So I was already around basketball at a very high level, and I understood development. And so now when I'm learning soccer, there was a lot of similarities in regards to the movements. And so now I'm like, okay, man, I'm sharing these things and I'm learning from the coach at Bayern Munich with my own children. And so now I'm like, all right, let's create a village. And so I went about creating this village of other children from similar communities, whether West Philadelphia, Southwest Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, South Philly, you name it. And we would be at matches and games, and I would introduce myself to different families or different youth and say, hey, we're doing these workouts. You guys come on. And I didn't charge anybody a dime. I just wanted to see kids, get better and also kids have access, because what a lot of people didn't realize that it's more Black kids in the inner city that have interest in soccer than people realize. The problem is there's no access. The problem was it's not promoted. And so kids is going to do oftentimes what's promoted. That's why a lot of kids in the city play basketball, they play football, boxing, etc., because it's promoted heavy. And on top of that, they have the leaders, they have the mentors and the coaches that's there, accessible to them. And so now I start building this village where that village went up into, I think I probably at the height of it, we probably had about close to 80 kids that I was developing. And so it was the parents who then told me about, hey, why don't you do a business of it? Mind you, I was doing this for so this 2017, Project Primacy isn't started until 2020 during COVID. And that's how Project Primacy Foundation was born. And so as you see here, we serve socioeconomically disadvantaged youth through soccer and futsal. And for those who aren't aware of what futsal is it's a game similar to soccer, but it originated in Brazil, and it's 5-on-5, and oftentimes it's played on like a basketball court or a tennis court or clay surface or even concrete if it's in the street, in which mostly everyone else in the world outside of America, soccer is accessible. You don't have to play for no club that you got to pay $15,000 a year for. It's free. It's a ball and kids are just playing. And that's why, when you look internationally, you look at countries like Brazil, you look at France, they're so good because kids are just able to play freely from an early age, in which even in Brazil, they actually don't even allow their talent to play soccer until they're 13. Those formative years from the ages of like 5 to 12, they're playing futsal. And so I teach that as well. And so 2020 is when we were, where we arrived as an actual full-fledged 501c3 and an actual business. And so fast forward, now we're here in 2026. We were never even thinking about World Cup. Now I am seeing, people promoting soccer who they've never promoted soccer a day in their life. But now because it's the World Cup, they see the opportunity to promote some kind of soccer within their program or within their offerings. but we've been, like I said, we've been doing this since actually 2017, but officially on record 2020. And so this, if you see this picture right here, we talk about community impact. And so we do more than just teach kids soccer. That's fun, that's fine, but we're also, helping kids with, their mental and emotional and physical health and wellness. Um, we're talking about increased physical activity. We are in a generation where outside for children is not the norm. Children don't play outside like when I grew up and like when some of you guys grew up. Now, if children are active, it's most times if they can get it during the school day. And then a lot of schools don't even have physical education or PE classes or a teacher anymore. There's a national shortage, throughout the country on physical education curriculums. Then you be talking about violence prevention. We're in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, even since I was a kid and even before, Philadelphia has always been a pretty tough city. And in the neighborhoods I grew up in, it was always violence. It was always tough. And
Right.
so now this gives kids an opportunity during the times where kids would be misbehaving or getting involved in criminal behaviors and activities. We're able to, create, some type of safe space for them to just play and be kids, and they don't have to, try to, live beyond their years. Also, literacy in language. We also, we're big on that because a lot of the students that we work with, these children, they go to schools where we're talking about the proficiency in math and reading, is below 15%. Some of them are below 10%. And so we assist with that. And then skill development and teamwork. Yes, we teach them how to play, but we also teach them how to live. And we teach them how to be able to coexist because we do have kids that come from, they may be, and which a lot of people who don't understand Philadelphia culture, you can live in the same so-called section of Philadelphia, but within each section of Philadelphia, there's many pockets of neighborhoods that will separate and divide you. So a kid could be living in Southwest Philly, he could be living on King Sesson, but yet he may not get along with a kid that lives on uh, Springfield Avenue or Baltimore Avenue. North Philadelphia, same thing. A kid could be living on 19th Street, but he may not get along with a kid from 17th Street. There's two different cultures, within that same section or neighborhood. And so we're able to teach them how to be collaborative and cooperative so that way, we're able to, tackle violence, head on.
And just a quick heads up, Mike, we got about 5 more minutes until we have to make sure we get questions and can do our roundtable.
Awesome. And who we are, we're a community-based nonprofit. We're focused on sports-based youth development, mentorship, and life skills. And our mission is equity, access, and opportunity. We're a mobile-based program which we bring soccer to communities that traditionally would not have soccer. And we do this right now throughout the tri-state. So we provide soccer programs throughout South Jersey, throughout Eastern PA, as well as Delaware. In addition, this year, we also expanded and where we have programs that we support throughout the Caribbean and Africa, in which we have right now Trinidad, Nigeria, and Ghana. And next year, we'll be adding Jamaica and Liberia. And these are programs and services. Right now, our flagship are our OST programs. OST meaning out of school time. So anytime the school building is closed, that's when Project Primacy, is able to operate. Um, Schools and rec partnerships is who we really like to focus on a lot as well. Again, our international reach, and we're looking to expand. Our goal in the next 10 years is to be in 40 countries throughout Africa and the Caribbean. And we seek people to partner with us. Our ideal partners, for Project Primacy would be city agencies, schools, sponsors, and other community organizations. And you can learn about all that we do on our Instagram is project_primacy_foundation. Our email is right there, projectprimacyfoundation@gmail.com. And in addition, our leadership children of mine, they're also, a part of the company's leadership. So Israel Carter is vice president, and Asaya Ben Shadaya is assistant vice president, and I myself am the executive director. And yeah, soccer is an amazing. One of our key goals is to make sure kids from urban communities get their passports way before they get their driver's license. And I've been able to even use my own children as proof. My daughter actually played in Sweden, all expenses paid. They paid for her to compete in the #1 and largest tournament globally for youth soccer in Sweden. And she came back home with all these different flags, because when they respect and admire your talent, the other teams will give you their flag to let you know that they respect you. And my son right now, he's a freshman at St. Joe's Prep, and he's actually going to Spain this summer. He'll be there for 1 month training with a professional team in Valencia, Spain called Levante. They play in the La Liga, which is the same league as Real Madrid and Barcelona. So he's 15 years old already on the pros radar, and he plays right now. He don't play club soccer, but he plays semi-pro. He's in a semi-pro program right now. So as a 15-year-old, he's every day competing against men 20 to 23 years old. So that's Project Primacy Foundation, and I thank you guys for your time and attention, and looking forward to answering any and all questions, and really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
No, that was awesome, Mike. I appreciate it. We probably got time for about 2 questions. Does anyone have any questions for Mike? You can stop your screen share too.
Yes.
That's Inception. I can see myself.
There we go.
We have any questions here for Mike?
Yeah, what do you need more? What do you need the most other than funding? And how can this group help you?
The most important thing is advocacy. Letting people know, whether it's schools, a lot of schools and different government agencies, they have, whether they have the facilities, whether they have the students, as well as the budgets to support programs like this. Because like right now, I'm operating 3 different programs throughout 3 different sections of Philadelphia: North Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, and Southwest Philadelphia. And and me and Zach already had this conversation already. For these 5 years, I'm not even including the other 3.5, but for these 5 years, we've done everything from the mud and the muscle, self-funded. We haven't been funded out, and we feed the children too.
Great stuff, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think, again, this is partially stemming from the conversation we had before, was that awareness from the right people is key. So that advocacy and getting, connections and getting you connected to folks who actually care about doing things in the city with organizations that are going to be true to what they say they're going to do, and really execute and care. I think that's a major key. So connection seems to be one of the biggest ways we can assist. And again, I encourage everyone, like I said, we record this and we put it out. I encourage folks to share and to bring more awareness to Mike's organization here. Thank you.